Maneku nossa deng natureza bota livre. Bom, mas está estresse, bota wordo livrar de todo pensamento não que botinho, especial se bota boa água.
Não pode ir outro caminho rond o mundo e tem gevoel que bota na Aruba. Com o sistema animal, com os coral, tudo isso aqui na junto, tá louco que tá fazendo nós rubiano, que tá dando nossa identidade de Aruba.
Beneath the Caribbean waters, coral reefs reveal a delicate ecosystem of intricate beauty, shaped by time and tide. In the mangroves, life thrives in the balance of land and sea, reminding us of nature's quiet resilience.
I think our nature is really to be outside in a green or blue environment.
Natureza sano, vida marino sano. Essa é parte de lo que nós está como ser humano.
Every part of nature, from the smallest coral to the tallest mangrove, is a promise to the future, a living testament to the importance of its care and preservation.
Mayang, ta nos menso yuna, nos menso chiquita nang, me servim pa wak essa aqui nang. Antobra, essa é um coisa que me tá em hopi grade mi barata, que me tá purva de conservar e preservar o que nos tem agora aqui para o futuro.
Change begins here, and together, we're turning the tide. This pilot project brought together local partners, the Aruba Conservation Foundation, the University of Aruba, and the Scubble Bubbles Foundation, alongside the lead partner, Wageningen University and Research, to collaborate on achieving something far greater than themselves. This documentary was filmed over a period of 16 months, starting in August 2023. During this period, Fundación Parque Nacional Aruba rebranded to Aruba Conservation Foundation.
So we all know that our world is at peril. You know, nature is really impacted by the human species. Apart from becoming more aware of your impact, we have to also realize what the value is of nature. And if you want the system to be vibrant and functioning and alive and healthy and resilient, you need to pay attention to it. And that is looking at nature for the value of being nature itself. Nature in itself has a value, apart from the value it has for us.
When we want to explain how the ecosystem works and how everything is related to each other, we often use the metaphor of a house of cards. That we say, if you take out one card, so if you take out the coral reefs, if you take out another card like the mangroves or the seagrasses, at some point the house of cards collapses and everything is gone.
When we do our conservation work, we're very much aware of everything in nature being interconnected. The mangroves and the corals via the seagrass beds are interconnected systems in which biodiversity thrives, and doesn't only thrive in one, it may thrive in all three and need all three. These three interconnected systems is what we call the power of three.
Turning the Tide, a pilot project aimed at hands-on rehabilitation of Aruba's spatially linked coral reefs and mangroves, has been 2 years in the making. From the beginning, it was evident that turning the tide toward a healthy, resilient environment where human activity aligns with nature was crucial. What started as an informal conversation, much has transpired to bring us to where we are today. But how did it all begin?
Actually started with a dream of ours, and we were discussing this dream with one of our long-term Dutch partners, Wageningen University and Research.
I have read a lot of reports throughout the years about how bad it is with the biodiversity in the Dutch Caribbean, also on Aruba. So I thought, am I only going to report all the time about how bad things go and that it's going worse and worse and worse, or can I really maybe also make a change?
We were discussing conservation work on the island, and we came upon actually our dream as our foundation was to restore corals and mangroves in Aruba. And as we were discussing that, we decided maybe we should, turn this dream into a reality. And that's actually how it started a few years ago. And here we are now, several years further, and working with a whole host of partners to make this a possibility. Yeah.
Bom, ora turn the tide bem na mente, ita pensa riba algo positivo kuta bahiba nos lama, nos naturaleza pa dilante. Pa outro lang kuta bem no futuro po wak, kiko Aruba subunitesa su tesoro ta.
So a project like this is, so ambitious. And of course now we're doing the pilot project. So the pilot project is basically smaller, but still huge. And this is something you can never ever do on your own. Conservation work is something you always do in collaboration with others. You need the experts helping you, your other partners on the island that are specialized in certain types of work helping you. And you also need the community to help you, which all came together in this project.
El proyecto de Turning the Tide está una colaboración entre diferentes partners, ¿no? Mangrove University, University de Aruba.
We also have as a partner Scubble Bubbles Foundation, and they are super important because they are the coral experts that actually do coral restoration on the island. And then we also have Stinapa, and Stinapa is our sister organization on the island of Bonaire, and they have helped us with their mangrove experts and also with their marine park rangers.
It's funded by the European Union under their RESIMBIT program, and marine biodiversity conservation is one of the topics within that RESIMBIT program.
The reason why we're focusing on mangroves specifically and on corals is because they are our biodiversity hotspots on the island. And what they provide for us as humans is like a life force. So we really need them to continue and to survive and to thrive and to remain intact. And that is what we are working now towards.
For coral restoration, 2 systems were selected: the Mars-assisted reef restoration system and the modular sea life systems, chosen for their ability to provide stable structures for coral growth amid the vast coral rubble in our waters.
In the world of conservation, especially coral conservation, there's a lot of innovation happening at the moment. And there are a lot of different coral systems available. We chose for 2 specific ones on the basis that they have not been tested before in the Caribbean, so that would be a first for them. And also on the basis of how they tested in other parts of the world.
Mi nasi lanta na Aruba, anto mi amira tambe e cambio nanko a sosede de nos lamanang una nos lamanang abay atras.
The Aruba of my youth was an amazing Aruba, and it was just incredible, underwater and on the land. And that is definitely not the Aruba of today. And it's something I would really want to bring back for the future generations to be able to enjoy this richness that once existed on our island.
I think at the moment the nature of Aruba is incredibly beautiful and stunning, but it is facing a lot of threats and is undergoing a lot of stresses. So I think it's very important that projects like Turning the Tide are happening, so that we raise awareness about the current situation and that we raise awareness also about the importance of acting now to bring a positive change.
Ora mi que daño que te pasa con los mangal, pero no nos mangal so, tú nos naturaleza aqui na Aruba, sinti un dolor para dentro, paso sa kita echt algo que te di Aruba, sa kita nossa herencia natural, sa kita parte de nossa identidade que quem nos está como arubiano, e se nos perde nos mangal, nos perde nos naturaleza, nos perde a vida natural que nos tem rond em nós, e da maneira nos está perdendo parte de quem nos mesmo está como arubiano. A ameaça mais grande está construção que está passando riba nas islas e desenvolvimento. Nós estamos perdendo a área na natureza que está sendo degradada. E tudo isso aqui tem seu impacto riba mangal também. Voorbeeld específico por mencionar tá nos na Parquitenbos, tá uma área de mangal que wordt convertida em dump. Nós temos hopi waf pier riba nas costa, uma mangala wordt kita para construir aqui na nós hopi construção riba nas costa, hotel e tem hopi outro menaça nang também, pero é primordial, é mais grande, com impacto mais grande, tá é desenvolvimento humano.
You realize also that when nature is doing well, we are also doing well. So when nature is thriving, we as a human species will also thrive.
In August, we started documenting the installation of the 2 different artificial reef modules. Over a period of 30 days, over 186 volunteers, young and the young at heart, gathered to start preparing the locally made Mars reef stars to eventually be placed in Aruba's marine protected areas. It was incredible to see the community coming together, eager to help. This marks the beginning of a year-long journey documenting the Turning the Tide project, certainly an eye-opening start. But what are these strange star-shaped underwater structures?
Mars Reef Systems está een invention eigenlijk die Mars Sustainable Solutions. Com a binco estrela of aranha, como que chama, estrutura, que o coral não pode crescer mais fácil riba gele, te cria estabilidade. Para a água, o coral não pode crescer riba gele. Pero para zorg para o coral não pode crescer riba uma estrutura de hierro, nós está coatando com epoxy e santo, para eure é também mais atrativo para o coral.
Em março, a começar com de nada, nós começamos a trabalhar em março, mas não gostou. Ela toma pouco tempo para nós poder preparar, pôr santo, e quantidade também.
Ok, so kita lo kwalta uno que está claro acaba, and we tele no black spots, excellent job.
Para é santo todo um challenge. Sobre nós queremos buscar fuente sustentável para é santo. Uiteindelijk nós logra é santo, ora nós traga silt trap para mangrove restoration na Lagoon. Então full abau ding silt trap todo tem santo branco e é todo de textura que nós mister para o sistema de Mars para funcionar. Outro logro hopi grande é a participação de voluntários em CREA e Reef Stars. Está bastante trabalho e está mais ou menos luna, quase toda a noite. Nós temos average de 10 voluntários que ajudam nós que sei. Então, para mim é algo que me está echt super proud de, não somente para o qual nós logra, mas também que assim uma grande parte de Aruba, toda parte do projeto aqui.
Aqui eu me penso, a minha ideia é muito grande. A mim estou estudando environmental science, que é uma aqui notícia me diz que a mim do meio and walk the talk.
Então, é nice para o que tem uma iniciativa para conservar o que todos nós nos curam aqui.
Ultimamente me estou gosto bem atrás do mundo, tanto com a natureza, quanto para nós poder dar uma ajuda e vai adiante. Assim nós podemos ajudar.
To build local capacity, Mars Sustainable Solutions sent a support team from Australia to Aruba to give the local project team all the support they needed. Their arrival sparked excitement among the local team. Everyone was not only eager, but ready to get the ball rolling.
Nós team de Austrália, nós haben visita de Frida e Kate, que de Mars Sustainable Solutions. Dan a introduzir-nos na Mars Reef Stars e compa instalar-nos, na assistir-nos na treinos e na treinos suficiente para não eigenlijk não mister beanbag mas não quer beanbag, pero não mister beanbag mas.
My name is Frida Nicholson and I work for an organisation called Mars Sustainable Solutions. Reef stars are a rubble stabilisation and coral reef restoration technique. What we're doing today is we're training a group of people from the Aruba National Park Foundation, as well as some local community members, in how to actually use this technique to recover reefs that are degraded. The reason we're training a few different community members today is to actually try and build up the capacity of the local team here on the ground so that they actually are able to be involved in projects like this and can potentially even train other people locally in Aruba or potentially even in the region as well. I think in this instance, you might just have to not go in the middle because it doesn't exist.
By the end of August, after much hard work and late nights, the first batch of star-shaped structures was finally ready for underwater installation. Early one morning, the team, together with volunteers, gathered at Rancho Clemente, boarding a fishing boat to finally head out to the water and install the first artificial reefs. For most of us, it was a first. What would the day have in store?
Anto baro maninho sa ting turquoise club, chenana ang seguinte etapa sigi kus mister bus com transporte na itame voluntário e hina não ele pa ajuda nos pa transportar nan di caminho com anta pa lama.
Anto ja inang eore costa como se bira mais real. So prometa ainda ta planning bueno sa si eta ja, kung ita sinti of kung ita baita ora ita ding lama.
Agora que na nossa base está stacking reef stars para nos loadar em boto, para mais lá nós vai começar a instalar na água. Tudo isso aqui também no boia água e contigo suerte corado vai crescer e vai ter no futuro. Bom.
Começa projeto para Aruba sempre tem melhor coisa por ti, não? Vai adiante.
Esse projeto para Aruba.
Não nada. Pia chega dentro do spa, né? Mi mês, praticamente quase lanta dentro da lama. Hopi sport de lama, hopi sport na de windsurf, de bodyboard. Ginar ng piscamento, kayak, na final sabing dive. Kung bau awa, noting stress, não tá pensando em nada malo, não tá seguindo bau awa, tá abo com natureza, tá connect com natureza. Então sempre todo dia tem algo novo. Então mas com oficina, bota bem, é mesmo lecionar. Lecionar tá roupa mais grande. E conectar com a natureza e esta parte de meu trabalho também, que é win-win. Nós a começar a seletar o lugar, quando nós também bota coral, nós temos 4 lugares, até 4 lugares que é parque marino mesmo.
What we'll be doing is we'll have a group of divers and snorkelers that will bring these structures out onto the coral reef there, and we'll have some divers actually joining all the structures together so that they're nice and tight and secure.
Para mim, Reef de la Ma, ja, sowieso é um momento especial. Pero também tem sua preocupação, não pode também passar aqui não pode também ancrar aqui não. Mientras nós estamos bezig te instalar, não ainda está fazendo mês daño, so ja, Mars reefs para instalar, não está dispone não, bani outro, pero também me está ancrar não, me está bate com martelo. Está que não vai adentro, então ja, algo vai faltar não, está peligroso, porta peligroso. Pero ja, todos os divers não, todos eles não que estão envolvidos, então eu consciente disso também.
Então, para o tempo, nós estamos schedule cada semana, nós trabalhamos uma quantidade de pelo menos 120 estrelas para sítio.
lo qual também passa durante o tempo que Frida Cuqueta tem, não diz treinos, pero também nós vai observar e wak todo sítio não para restaurar, para também evaluar a base de não experiência de todo outro país não que não instalar isso aqui, se o lugar que nós instalar ta área não onde historicamente o coral não que nós vai planta está presente, so que trecha algo que está de passado hang back, bueno que cria algo novo, trece back local está de passado, lo qual não se perde.
It's really awesome being part of projects like this that are really locally driven. It makes me really proud to be able to work with people who have such a strong connection with their local environment, whether that's the marine environment or the terrestrial environment, and really have a passion for wanting to keep it healthy and help restore those ecosystems that have been degraded at some point in the past. So it's really, really awesome to be able to work with people who are so passionate about it and really have so much local knowledge and investment in the project, just from living here for a long time and enjoying their local environment their whole life and wanting to restore it.
Normalmente, ora Mars reef systems te worden installado. Ta installado di viaja ribagele e coral fragments. Anto Frida Cuqueta ta echt prepara para treinos dingen sei tambe. Ding caso aqui nos ripara, ja, eta luna di settember, un dia luna na mas calor na Aruba. E temperatura nan di la mata to hopi alto, anto coral no gusta temperatura nan alto. Nan tin chance di muri full. Anto ora bai hala core fragments e acaba nan tin stress di temperatura, anto bai pone un stress mas di hala nan ribaje e chance con ante survive ta hopi abau. Dus door die zei nos no por hala e coral nan e momento ku Frida Cuqueta daqui nan anto ja Frida Cuqueta hij zei un tiki fastios per sono echt chiara treinos live ribe sei.
Due to the warm water temperatures, the coral outplanting was postponed indefinitely until the following year. The stakeholders, and Tobia, who was involved in monitoring the water temperatures, agreed it was best to delay. In the meantime, work continued to keep the reefs clean, preparing them for coral planting when the time was right. Other exciting milestones were just around the corner, and many hands would be needed in the coming months to make them happen.
We have been very involved in the project through the university, especially me and Eric Metz, who is the project leader from the university side. And we have been mostly involved through the training and the involvement of the students and staff. So really trying to build the capacity in the project, also to the involvement of the local community.
These marsh reefs that are put here, they are, constructed with a lot of, with the help of a lot of volunteers. And I think this is a pilot project, and we want to upscale the project because this is just a few locations along the south coast of Aruba where we implemented this, but we want to upscale it. So we need more hands in the future, so people can help.
You create the capacity to maintain this project, as it is so time, labor intensive, that we need all the help and participation possible. So if we want the longevity of this project, the sustainability of this project, we need to involve the broader community.
Ribattur imagen di Aruba ta mira e la ma blau, e santo blanco, e piscana della ma, e coralna della ma. Anto si bon notin imagen nang mas pa compartir cubo turismo. Nanta pa kiera bini?
It's also about the economy of Aruba and about the welfare of the Aruban community. Well, these beaches, these wide beaches that are so attractive for tourists, they are a product of healthy coral reefs.
Un ejemplo de conexión entre el mar blau con el santo blanco con el reef ta nos gutu. In gutu tu un pisca que ta come e alga nang di e coral nang, dus dan ta zorg ko e alga nang nota gana e competencia que coral nang, pero en mesmo momento dan ta schrap un tiki di coral qual ding nan sistema después ta bira e santo blanco que nos conoce.
mangle está sumamente importante para a natureza de Aruba, não para a natureza marino, mas também terrestre. Mangle está arriba é ponto net me meio entre a mar e terra. Nós temos vida na terrestre, de maneira parca, cangreu, de diferentes organismos que usam mangle para brui, para biba, para comida, para drumi. Mas também nós vida marino. Nós temos Aruba, que é orgulhoso, riba nós pesca, então nós pescar, nós começar na vida de arena de mangle, nós proteger nos lama também. O que realizar com nós herbi lama, nos coral, e mangle tá é promê parte de defense contra a poluição que tem terra, a erosão que tem terra, e mangle tá buffer isso aqui para não drenta lama, então certa manter nos vida marino mais saudável também.
Big, older, mature trees forming a dense canopy, and then you have younger saplings growing underneath it in the shade, the roots stabilizing the shoreline. So that's how a healthy mangrove ecosystem looks like. We see that it's not as important to plant saplings, something that is very popular within mangrove restoration, but to actually start with the basics, the basic environmental factors. Is the environment within which the mangroves are growing healthy? And then we realize that in Aruba we have an issue with water flow and water quality.
A big threat to the mangroves is the erosion of Aruba. A lot of sediment during heavy downpours, heavy rain. A lot of sediment is ending up in the mangroves, and at some point it will kill the mangroves. So what we do is we have been digging 3 sediment traps of 500 cubic meters each so that the sediment collects in the sediment traps and not in the mangroves.
E que silt traps são aqui, nós por agora para gara tudo santo que nada para não dentro do sistema de mangle, e assim na cidade ou no sistema de mangle para nós não perder habitat não importante que mangle não aqui de treze para nós pescar não, para nós cangreu não, para nós reefs, para tudo vida não que está dependente riba no sistema de mangle. E agora que nós temos buraco aqui coba, é importante também para com o sistema também cambia. Cada dia você algo de natureza, você cambia algo e também tem um impacto. E que impacto é tá nós não por premirar.
In early September, we joined Gian and Shane on a field research and monitoring trip to Roilamunchi. They brought along some unusual research tools. What were their plans, and what strange discoveries would they make in the newly dug silt trap?
Ando sa sabay ku square kinanang, sabay ku shovels nang. Kailangan tem notebook. Tem notebook, tem toda a informação que tem. E para começar a awe, nós também rebater para mim para check flora, fauna e também tipo de terra que tem aqui na. E hockey's não, tem 100 hockey's. E nós podemos contar quanto hockey's tem vegetação, quanto hockey's tem buraco de cangreu, whatever tipo de vida que nós estamos. Nós podemos marcar ele assim, né? E só se sai 3 viagens para cada sítio. E nós também também a temperatura de terra, para com calor, com quente terra está aqui na. Tem para ideia que lo passa, pero o a ideia não está mesmo com o que está passa é verdade. E pensei também é importante que nós está bezig está medir cambio não que tem sistema, com qualidade de água está cambia, está vira mais salo ou não. Sabe que um cocoliche, nós chamamos cocoliche calacuna. Cocoliche calacuna, tá viva na Aruba, Bonaire e Corsol, sob Botanheiro. Botanheiro é outro caminho no mundo. Eu sei que é um cocoliche crioulo. E para mim como rubiano, a minha cresce de mundo, a cresce de la mar, a mim em termos de vida, me tá snorkel, duik, cana de mundo, wakparga. E agora que nós temos a oportunidade para conectar mais com ele e para compreender também a natureza mais melhor. E para fazer algo com o poder dele. kita mira amenaza na natureza experiencia e tem oportunidade para por base algo para melhorar a situação para nossa natureza e sabe kita donami bom gevoel que está contribuindo no futuro de nossa isla e todo dia no trabalho é o melhor dia como a experiência, mas também é o pior dia como a experiência sobre se tudo coisa está bom lo minha tem trabalho aqui na
Ora mas é tempo é meeting aqui à tarde a temperatura aqui na está 50 graus.
Ja, hoop estranho, minha verwachte sei e que tem cangreu que biba aqui na of insecto que biba no dinge terra aqui na que 50 graus. Se está mostrando nos que a natureza está mais resiliente que nós verwacht.
Dus agora que você vai pegar hopi leuk, você vai ganhar pescar.
Nós também tiramos aqui bana, massia bana, memei, una nang ta, of como que me tira?
Quando tira que na, depois tira memei, depois tira na final, vai ser 3 bia.
Vamos lá, sim. Well, tarai, vamos a tarai tradição de Aruba. Por meio tempo na cidade de Panha, hoje em dia na vida moderna, na vida plástico. Antes tem que manter mais limpo. Provavelmente vai tirar roi. É algo great, mas eu gosto de ver aqui que tem roi que está vivendo hoje em dia de roi não passou. Teria na chave. Nós temos especulação, mas nós não sabemos que tem novo, portanto tem novo, nós não sabemos. Vamos ver essa. Pescador de roi, correto. Vamos aqui nesta gara. So far, we got small fishes. Let's go to the water. Certo? Vamos começar a aquecer. Eta hope excited. Guess the race.
So já tu passa mais coisa?
Sim, também com. Não, sim.
Sim, passa mais coisa. Vamos sacar para trás.
Sacar para trás. Photo. Yes, got him.
É algo. Você sabe que mais seguro, está vivendo dentro de mangroves na ilha de ouro. E agora que coisa cobre canal que na água dentro que na para muda bem que dentro também.
Tá que nós estamos mirando agora que na houve diferente tipo de pesca que normalmente bota wak den sistema de Reef. Nanga começa a usar buraco nang aqui também com nossa coba e variedade de pesca tá houve alto e sabe que algo que vai seguir assim na per projeto que não só, pero no futuro também para seguir com esse sistema que vai querer cambiar no futuro.
Mas nasce na Aruba, malanta na Aruba. De chiquito acaba sempre a natureza atrair-me, inspirar-me, especialmente a parte marina e a parte de lama. De tempo me tada tinha 9 anos, mas aí me envolvi em conservação de tortuga marino. A tortuga di la mama ma wordt lanta konang of pakot ta conservanang então doria sai não tem lugar especial de meu coração também a tortuga nang di la mama nanta cria hobby conexão entre os diferentes ecossistemas nang di la mama smita aí nanta hobby bonita e também nanta bestia nang histórico Nantin 150 milhões de anos no mundo acaba. Nantin dat hij promet com nós. E eigenlijk é nós dever passar com conseguir sobreviver nós.
In mid-September, the founders of Reef Systems, based out of the Netherlands, arrived in Aruba to kick off the second coral restoration effort, the installation of the Moses Reefs. These large concrete structures required a much bigger underwater operation. You could feel the excitement.
Moses System, também de Reef Systems, uma companhia holandesa. Então, é bloque de cimento, com hol de pading. Então, nanta fetriba outra maneira Lego. Moses Reefs, a começar eigenlijk tempo com yes com Max ainda tá na Holanda, nós tá em hobby comunicação. Dan tá super entusiasmado para vir Aruba. Die Get Go Deep Turning the Tide project dan tá involved. Nós tá tem hobby contacto online, então depois ora por fim chega aqui na quer que na mais ou menos luna para ajudar com full instalação de reef systems.
So what we're doing here is we've transported a 20-foot container with containing around 700 individual Moses blocks, so that's the modular sea life system. And as you can see here behind me, we've constructed 13 big artificial reefs, which we're going to install all along the south coast of Aruba next week. And what we see here is one of the reefs. So this one reef contains 45 units. And as you can see here, that every individual block has a high surface complexity. So that was especially developed for the attachment of coral larvae and the natural recruitment of coral larvae.
Então, junto, não forma uma estrutura, hobby dinâmico.
We've created a highly 3D complex structure with a lot of crevices and a lot of different micro habitats. So what you see here is that we also use dividers to divide some of the modules for smaller creatures to go inside, and then bigger predators cannot enter here.
Nós hacemos uso de barco grande, de White Tip 2, por atin crane riba dele, para assim lanta e reef e barre banda de boto den água.
The team in Aruba had to turn to the island of Curacao to contract the white tip. No such boat was available in Aruba, and this boat was the only one that could carry out the work. White Tip 2 made its way to Aruba, but not without its own challenges.
I think we have to attach the lifting straps to the reef, and then they're going to lift it.
Ja.
Peukje weg. Welke, deze? Ja.
This operation came with risks. Each structure weighs 2,000 kilograms, suspended by a single strap from the side of a boat. This was the first test. Would the crane handle the load?
Ja, gaat-ie?
Gaat.
Oh. Je zag hem gaan. So we're testing now if we can really lift the reefs, and what the plan is that this whole machine is going onto the ship, and then this machine will place the reefs one by one along the whole south coast of Aruba.
Going good so far?
So far so good, yeah. At first the machine lifted it a bit, so yeah, we're trying to see what the reach is concerning the weight, but it looks good, right?
Different parties from around the world were involved in this process, making it challenging to align everyone's focus. Trusting one another was essential, as this was a first for everyone, and it came with its own set of challenges.
Tem projeto que está colaboração, porque vai depender de outro partido não. Então essa é algo bonita, passou por depender de não. Pero também tem com challenges de comunicação entre outros.
You really need to communicate well. Also, what went wrong here? What took a little bit more time for us? We wanted these lifting mechanisms exactly on 25 centimeters on both sides, and since it's not placed correctly, we needed to cut all these modules because the module was until here. We had to grind all of these modules. So this is left over, but we're going to use this for the snorkel reef. But this was extra work for us, but it's okay. Next time we should communicate it better with the local parties involved, that if we say 25 centimeters exactly, we need 25 centimeters exactly.
Atari nossa start machine e a que nós está fazendo o teste para o que para vai trabalhar o barco. Nós está vai barrar na Honduras de viajar, essa é a ideia, e bang o que está vai bom na maneira nossa plan.
Well, I think if the waves are too heavy and the whole boat is going like this, we shouldn't install today or like the next week. But the forecast is looking quite good, so I think we're ready to install. Nice. Lekker viola.
There was a lot of excitement, news, and maybe even doubt. The installation of the Moses reefs had been years in the planning, and now it was time to bring it to life. On the morning of the installation, everyone was buzzing with anticipation. This was a big job, challenging, risky, and something never before attempted in Aruba. It was September 27th, and the team rose early to start the day at Varadero Harbor. It was all hands on deck.
Vámonos, vámonos!
Ora dia aieka ku isaina yakaba tota reef nan tota riba white tip. Ami mes tota riba volgboot junto ku Jesse I Max riba white tip. Shane também tota riba white tip. Dus hij zien nos a parte nos hende nan pa tin pa pongia processo mas miho.
Yeah, it's a lot of preparations. We worked hard. I think FP&A worked hard from this side. We worked hard from in Holland, and now it's finally it's coming together. So we've been working on this now for 1 month together here, and now we're finally on the boat and we're going into the ocean to place the reefs.
I'm even nervous, sick, a little, not seasick, but sick nerves.
Yeah.
De oficina nos po plan turquoise, pero ribalama ta outra história. Naturaleza po cambia coisa, machina po breakdown riba nos, hopi coisa po passa.
Doe voorzichtig, hè? Ja, later.
Atrobe white tape, ponson equipment, itame e ranger an destina pa kuta ding e Gideon. Nos tour ta hopi flexível. Tá roupa e material para mover dentro de tempo e não tá um trabalho muito, mas tá roupa e trabalho que nós temos que dar pay com ele para sobre safety de coisa roupa importante ou nós trabalho água.
Nós trabalhamos é sítio, então eu reta wak reef te worden lantado, te worden baha, pero ora a mim mesmo arriba boto, me tá wak costa não passa, pero outro não arriba outro boto, então não tá haciele, então de é difícil de enviar para comunicar com outro, ou me mira algo não tá bem full maneira é mesmo bem, pero bueno para comunicar esse momento,
Het ziet er mooi uit. Kijk, zo hadden we het bedacht. Hoi! Boom! Hoi! Hoi, maar die ene is wel kapot gegaan. Is die kapot? Eén rib is kapot of niet? Eén zo'n rib ging er tegenaan of niet? Max! Eén zo'n rib botste tegen die andere. Helemaal!
So, as always with the first one, something can go wrong, and what they did, they placed 2 reefs on the back of the boat, and when they lifted one, because the sea was a bit rough at the time, it gave a little swing and it hit the second reef that was on the boat, and that did crush 3 blocks, I think.
Moses também se war sacar com crânio fora de boto, botar para fora de boto e barrar em lama. Nossa seca não está bastante bonita, pero agora que o lama está move, então se dá pone, que nem para mim e tento não gostar de, e Moses está swing, dá-lhe a boto, e Moses está swing, dá-lhe na outro Moses que está se dando na mesma rifle, mas nem me pensa nos tour tem quase falta para nós sim, e se nós não faz falta, nós não está trabalhando tampouco, porque falta os sim para badilante, pero esse é não está setback eigenlijk, pas ook het tempo sa back, nós pone beton novo, nós cama turquoise, dus a meta wake mas é setback in time.
So they lowered their first reef. I think the divers just got in the water now. One is staying up. One is staying up for communication. The other 2 are going down to disable the reef when it's on the floor.
It was exciting, to be honest. I was embracing my heart a little, actually.
Hey, get in there.
The yellow rope holds the whole reef. That's pretty crazy. And then they cut it once it's underwater.
Anto segundo anta tabahanan ku eta kasi yega, nós trajo um cabuia especial que nós corta, to e bloque nanta yega sinta na lugar. Problema, dificuldade que nós arranha com moça está para pôr e 2, 3 ton bloque na posição que nós quer exatamente boa água. Anto esse aí tá pôr com outro biata tá bem bom. Posso maneira está bisa que a melhor intenção que nós temos para crescer pôr artificial reef sempre toca em algo que a natureza não gosta de dizer. Anche apesar de ser um bom pele, não? Anto para enanan tá é challenge para pôr e Moses block sem a cidade.
It feels good. It's quite hectic. I didn't expect it to be this hectic, but we're doing good. I think one at a time is okay. So happy to see that it's working out.
Ami como safety diver, Mr. Ponhope, atenção que na una turhene tá, na una boto tá, o mestre tá nervioso, o mestre tá bem, o mestre tá atento de lo que tá passa, step adelantar. Passo se passa, tá lá acaba. O mestre tá claro antecipando o que tá vai passar.
And we're on.
Ora e reef na tota abau dia awa e ora ku lift bags nos alanta ng back pa hala ng pa spot correcto onder ons dat ik ja ng pa extension die projecto eigenlijk palanqueda. Anto kinang echt expertise di stinapa abina ding personang tin mas 30 anya kaba ta hala mooring blocks ta hala kostan pisabau awa ku lift bags. E nanga assistir mais hobby mes que saki, pero também ding forma ko na último reef nang na zorg ko ta amigo shenso ta bezig ta hala reef nang ko lift bags in anta gis observar. So parte mais importante ta ko agora que nos lo hacia nos mes. E sai mita apreciar mais hobby mes ko nan também abisa maneira não está aqui nan pa dona boso nossa expertise dona ja sim a boso pa boso po hacia boso mes después.
Hours later, the team wrapped up at the first marine protected area and immediately took all learnings with them to start preparing for the next few days of installation.
Door con anta consistir di differenti parti, portada in futuro nos no pai ku full peso in one shot, pero nos arma ng bau awa.
And these individual blocks that weigh 20 kilos, you can really construct it, you can build it with manpower. So we can involve the community that can all help and build their own reef. So doing it this way, we involve the community with the reef production.
And what this will mean is that we wouldn't need a boat for installation. So it's going to be a lot cheaper. It can be done with community involvement. And it would be really great if this works and it keeps stable during heavy storms. Because then the upscaling here in Aruba would be a lot cheaper and thus more viable.
We can really teach people how to restore their own ecosystem. They can create new ecotourism business models. They can enhance the biodiversity. They can make sure that there's more fisheries, so they can really create their own sustainable food supply. So that's the plan for the future.
It was yesterday actually, me and Jesse, we went to dive at the Oranjestad location, and only 3 days after installation there's already a lot of fish and life surrounding the reef, so you can really see that the instant habitat creation is working here in Aruba. Really rewarding to see that the project is working and that it's going to be a success. And there's not even corals yet on the reefs, but you immediately just see all that life around it, and that gives us, you know, hope, and it's just an inspiring feeling to see that what you're working on is actually a success and it's working.
The nice thing is that you can really make a difference. Like in just a short period of time, we saw in Kenya that where we installed these reefs, like 24 hours after installation, you saw an octopus going inside these tubes. You saw a lot of different forms of marine life that are attracted to the reefs. It was a very happy moment. I was like, I couldn't get the tear out of my eye because I had the scuba goggles on, of course, but it was a very, very good moment.
Both the Moses structures and Mars reef stars remained in place underwater throughout the winter months, requiring ongoing cleaning and regular monitoring to prepare them for the coral fragments that would later be transplanted onto the artificial reefs. But the water temperature didn't go down as expected. Nature had other plans. The wait was frustrating for everyone. When would the coral fragments finally be transplanted to their new home?
Well, you know, we had a lot of challenges with the project. It went smooth, let's be real, but I think the biggest challenge for me personally was having to wait.
We were ready to actually go out and plant the corals, but unfortunately the waters have been so warm that we cannot do it. So we have to postpone the whole process by we don't know how long, actually.
The reefs were installed in the fall, and typically the water starts to cool, but last year it was so hot, the water stayed so hot. Having hot water just wasn't something that we could take a chance with, because if we put them into a hostile environment, they're not going to be able to survive. And we really wanted to give our corals that opportunity to thrive. And so it was, on a personal level, frustrating to have to wait. And there was almost a fear of, when is the water going to cool down? Not just for the project, but in general for our corals, when is the water going to cool down?
By February 2024, the waters had cooled to a temperature of 27 degrees, a much-needed respite for the oceans, easing stress on corals and fostering a healthier underwater environment. This also meant it was finally time to transplant the corals. All on-island partners and trained volunteers were grouped in 2 working teams. One team would prepare the coral fragments to be transferred from the nursery into the boat, while the other team assisted with the receival of the fragments. Both teams then headed out into the open ocean to place the corals in their new home.
Dus a seguinte fase, oranta ding awa, nos tame join ku scrubbing bubbles ku ta Nicole.
Scubble Bubbles is part of the Turning the Tide project, and we have the very exciting role of providing the corals that are outplanted onto those artificial reefs. So we get to give a little bit of life to the project, if you will.
First founded as a way to get more young people diving, today Scubble Bubbles is the first organization to do coral restoration in Aruba.
Anto, sin Nicole eigenlijk nos no tin coral pa pone riba e Reef, no? Pero Nicole también mira el valor del proyecto aquí como impacto con nuestro team, riba nos comunidad y riba nos medio ambiente marino.
So when it finally came time to put the corals from the nursery out onto the reefs, it was one of those moments where you're so excited that you're finally there and it's finally going to happen. But it was also very scary, right? Because there was a lot involved in a lot of organization that we had to do. And a lot of things we had to make sure went right and that we organized and planned. It took a lot of work between the University of Aruba, Aruba Conservation Foundation, Scubble Bubbles, and then we worked with 2 water sports companies. So we had Palm Beach Divers and Aruba Water Sports that helped us with boat transportation, because that was a really big thing.
Nós temos hopi voluntária também com essa trabalho hopi lihe, paso e corala no pokeda muito riba awa of den câmara de temperatura.
The students' involvement, it was amazing to see them. Like, I see them always in a classroom, even though I try to bring them outside, but to see them on the boat, underwater, like busy with coral restoration, was unbelievable. This is exactly what I was hoping to do in my later life, so actually working with communities, working on coral restoration and conservation. So it was fantastic, actually. Yeah.
So the nursery is a structure underwater where we have corals hanging, and we grow them from really small until they're big enough. And then when we're ready to put them out onto the reef, we go out and we actually leave the center piece for at least 2 cycles, and we cut the ends off, and then those ends are what gets outplanted onto the reef. So I led one team, and we came to the nursery and cut fragments. And then another team met at the boat and would come down and pick us up. And they would have tanks full of water ready for us so that we could put our little babies into the water. And then we'd go by boat to the artificial reef. And then in there, all the divers would jump in and we would do at least 2 reefs a day. So we're working with, it's Acer or Acropora cervicornis, or more commonly just known as staghorn coral. And the reason that we're working with that is twofold. One, we have a permit to handle that coral, so that's very important that we already had permission and that this isn't something we just went out to grab. But also it's an endangered coral that grows really fast, so it's a really important coral that adds a lot of structure to the reef. And so it was a natural choice to work with because hopefully it will grow and it will add a lot of dimensions to the reef that's already there. The Moses reef, it's a solid kind of structure, so we had to use epoxy, something new, something different. The nice thing is the coral is facing up, so it's kind of able to grow up and out.
Epoxy put the fish safe, sowieso, kung natin químico. Itong lem, kung mistra usa, comparar com Mars, kung mistra pone tie wraps pa waka.
Yeah, so you hear me refer to the corals as my babies. And it's because, I mean, they start out so small that they are just a little tiny baby. You know, with a baby, we put so much effort and love into a child, a pet, a relationship. And so growing these corals from just little fragments up until big fragments and then putting them out onto the reef and out into the world, while it's not the same as raising a child, it feels like that's what you're doing. You're taking something that you've given a lot of love, a lot of effort, and a lot of time to, and now you've prepared it for life in the wild. And so yeah, they're my babies, just like my volunteers are my bubbles. Yeah, it's a love thing.
Oros acaba de pôr todo coral lang rin Mars, trabalho na cabinana, os meus trabalho back para monitorar coral lang, wasi na aquela bibo, wasi na stress, wasi na bleach, por exemplo, também tomar data para nós por back para depois de futuros por wasi na trabalho bom, ou se na trabalho normal.
Such a cool feeling to have your corals there and to be able to see like, oh, we did that, you know, I'm a part of this. And this is for Aruba, and this is for the reefs of Aruba, which means the turtles and all of the marine life here that relies on that. And that's a pretty cool feeling to know that you're having an impact on that.
Turning the Tide is not just an ordinary project for me. And now I see the passion with the partners and the passion with the volunteers, the overwhelming amount of volunteers. It makes me very thankful. So it gives me a lot of positive energy and that I want to do more for this project. It's not just an ordinary project. This is for me a very special project.
So the mangroves in Aruba have been reduced tremendously over the last hundreds of years and especially the last decades. So there's a lot less mangroves and they're not in a healthy state. So we really need to restore them. Healthy mangrove ecosystems are super important because they do stabilize our shoreline, they are part of our coastal protection, and they offer so much more on ecosystem services that we need.
We gaan heel direct links in. Alright, we're gonna go through these mangroves right here. As you can see, these are the black mangroves. We can spot them by the roots that are hanging out to catch the air. And as you go closer, you can also see the salt that it produces on the leaves. So as you can see here, we can see on the leaves, the salt will build up. That's because it's taking out the salt water and put all the salt on its leaves. And you can also see it on the beans. The beans look like a teardrop. Lo que nós vai verdiep nos mês de jeta bata catch piscana com tarai. Antobra ta se sondeio ribe e tipo de piscana que tem deng e mangalang of round the circa near the mangalang.
In June 2024, Shane and 2 interns through Wageningen University went to monitor deep into the mangroves of Spaan's Lagoon. It's important to note that this work is conducted by trained professionals for scientific purposes, and walking over or disturbing mangroves is strongly discouraged. The conditions were challenging for filming, with boots sinking deep into the mud as the team navigated through the muddy landscape. Let's see what they find.
As you guys can see, the water is very high today. It's a good sign. We got water flow. It's very good for the mangroves. Once we have the fish, we will put them in a tank. If the fish is attractive fish that we didn't see before, we're gonna take it into the white basket right here. We're gonna take a picture, put the data, so we have it for tomorrow. We can see it again. We're gonna start by throwing the cast net, all right? You guys ready?
Yes.
Let's do this. Here, fishy, fishy. Got it? Oh, got a fish. Alrighty. Get up as you guys can see here, we caught a couple of tilapias, which is a very common species in the lagoon. We're gonna try to keep it as still as possible so we could take a nice picture of it. Saca ng portrait, saca ng data, saca toda informação, color, largura, forma, espécie, para nós podermos criar um database. Anto genanan para de futuro, nós podemos seguir o que mais bem de mangel of kiko tabay voor de mangel.
Ja, het is sowieso hartstikke leuk om met het project bezig te zijn. Ik ben heel blij dat ik hier kan helpen en kan bijdragen. Ik heb het idee dat het een heel belangrijk project is, omdat ze bezig zijn met het herstellen van een belangrijk stuk natuurgebied van Aruba. En daarom is het eigenlijk alleen maar leuk om hier alles te kunnen doen. En ik hou er ook van om in de natuur te zijn, dus dat maakt het dan extra leuk.
For Lauren, an intern from Wageningen University, this would be his first time throwing a taray, the Aruban way. Let's see if he manages to catch anything.
These are my interns. I taught them well.
This is a chance for Lauren to put his knowledge to the test. With fresh young eyes, he could uncover some remarkable discoveries. He found something that hasn't been seen in years. Let's take a look.
Oh, yo, shrimp! It's a tiny species of shrimp. And last week, 3 weeks ago, we discovered it for the first time in Spanish Lagoon. It hasn't been recorded here yet, or it has been 60 years ago or something. So the last time this species has been here, it was 60 years ago.
Posso escucharon ta hopi tipo de para ng kinanan din Spanish Lagoon. Nos mistério manga lang aqui parang po ng neshi halto. Pajarito ng nila mas special po haya chance pa cresce e vai back din na lugar. Hopi importante yung manga lang ta panos, especialmente na Aruba ginana.
Hopi di nos piscanang ta começa na vida ding mangal. Mangal na ta proteger e huevo ng piscanang chiquito, onda piscanang grani no podrenta ding gele pagara nang. Tanto ora na bir un tiki ma grande, un tiki ma fuerte, hopi viaje ora piscanang aqui na ta muda by ding yerbi lama. Una ta chega a seguinte fase di nang vida, por essa maneira na ta maneira teenagers assim, na ta sim explorar lama un tiki mas, pero toch ding area di yerba di lama una un tiki mas safe. torna bira muito grande e ora nanta muda para no sistema de Reef, onde nanta bira adulto e não prossegue na seguinte parte da vida. Dus sim é sistema de mangle, sim é sistema de yerba de lama, ou sim é sistema de coral, nos não portinha vida marino sano, que nos turta desfrutar de aqui na Aruba.
In the late morning, Shane and the team headed into the deeper waters to monitor the life between the mangroves. This area isn't accessed much, given that recreation isn't permitted beyond the bridge, as it's a protected area. The kayaks were loaded with equipment needed for monitoring and tests. We began paddling along the watery path into the mangroves. Let's hope our camera stays dry.
Mandei po wak patras di bikinana, nós tá haya mangle cora. Nós tá reconhecele di viaja na era islang, puta bing for di terra, inanta verenta busca lama. Se bawak cerca também na blachi nang, blachi tá mais punta comparado com outro mangle lang, e também su semia tá hopi apart. Nang semia tá hopi largo, e maneira que equita fosse punta, eta vai cair dentro água, e assim é por planta sumes, either dentro água, ou eta cai mais tanto riba lodo, e o tá abo com população novo de mangle cora. Alright kids, let's hustle. Nós também for dizer de mga halto drentano tiki para nos vai no coração de Spans Lagoon. E nana ta caminho nós também assim nos promessão dele, lo qual tá midi 30 metros e também o aqui piscar nós também hiding 30 metros e nana. Maneira nós powak aqui nana. Nós tawak em mangle cora e também nós tawak em semente de cerca e também su flor. Tawak na flor também de bira blanco bonita e na semente também de bira largo que assim nós pay tempo na takai em água e sigue crescer. Nós tawak e também no hopi bom kinanang manego gusto é assim me certa lama me se queda flujo que denan a área tá hopi verde bonita, você kita voorbeeld de natureza bastante saudável, correto? Dus we gaan hier beginnen. Even, je gaat de lange 30 meter uitrollen voor ons en ik ga zien waar het einde is. En daar zal ik ook hetzelfde doen. Dus de lood binnen in de mangrove zetten en strakken, zodat we hebben een mooie lange lijn dichtst possible bij de mangrove.
Shane prepares to snorkel, searching for the types of marine life that live in these waters. Meanwhile, the interns follow behind Shane with an underwater camera to capture anything Shane may have missed. These dark waters hold many secrets. What creatures call this place home?
So as you guys can see here, we have a fish ID. This is the fish we're supposed to find in this type of situation. I'll be going on the line for 10 minutes. And let's see what we can find today. Back in 10. On this side, mostly small fish like piscichis, as they call it, minnows. But you can see a lot of snappers go in the back, but they're not on the line. So we know they're there, but we cannot put them on the list. Huh? But right now, mostly small fish. It's going good.
Langs een traject wat Shane net heeft bekeken met Fish ID, zijn we nog een opname van het hele traject aan het maken. Zodat als er dingen worden vergeten, of als er grote koeken met scholen zitten, dat we die achteraf ook nog kunnen identificeren.
Duw de camera het meest aan de linkerkant als je kan. Je kan goed zien.
Hindi ko gusto si recreação em Mangrove também, para cortar a mesma ruta para não ficar para não poder tiki mais padeng, para não ter uma experiência com tiki mais único. Pero tudo isso aqui, todo equipamento aqui está quitando o sistema de é natural, mas está algo na besta não está desfrutar de área mais, quando não começa a desaparecer da área aqui. Então, por que o Mangrove sim que queda, pero a besta não está desaparecer. Então, o Mangrove não está sendo influenciado por atividade humana.
In early July, Hurricane Beryl, a Category 5 storm, passed by Aruba, generating massive swells that struck the island. This would serve as a pressure test for the artificial reefs. Would they survive? The uncertainty loomed large as the waves created by the storm were formidable.
We had Beryl pass by, and so there was a few days of maybe a little bit of fear and concern about what could have happened.
Nicole, Sitka, and Brooke, a young member of the Scubble Bubbles, head into the waters at Cerro Colorado to check if the artificial reefs suffered any damage from the hurricane. The Moses Reefs for Aruba were built in such a way that they were meant to withstand rough currents. But planning and building is one thing, standing the test is another. Sitka dives down to have a look. Looks like we have good news. The team takes a moment to celebrate at the surface of the water.
It went well. The corals are actually looking really good. The structures themselves, but also the fragments. Their survival rate is really something to be excited about. 4 months in, and it's still about 90%, maybe even over. I think 2 or 3 fragments chipped off a little bit, but the rest of the fragments should be enough to take it over.
And it was so nice to see the growth on the corals and see that everything was there and intact. It was so nice. It was a little scary going out. The fact that not only were the structures there, but the corals were still there and they were still growing really gives you a sense of hope, because they've done what they were designed to do. It's exciting. Elbow bump.
Like last year, February, we had our startup event, and we were snorkeling along the south coast of Aruba because we were looking for the best spots to put up the artificial reefs. And at some point, suddenly, a very beautiful reef started. The diversity of corals was very nice. There were lots of fish in different sizes. We saw sea turtles, stingrays. We came out of the water. We were really very happy that this was still there on Aruba. This was just before an outbreak of stony coral tissue loss disease that raged the Caribbean last year. So this year I again wanted to snorkel that reef because I wanted to enjoy nature and see how beautiful it is. And I really was kind of shocked because, yeah, a lot was gone. The condition of the reefs looked really bad to me. So I thought, when I came out of the water, is this how the younger generation will think that reefs should look like? Will they ever enjoy the reefs like I enjoyed it last year?
Ora mi mira nos lama, hoy en día, eta tristo pa mira. Eta timbiaha, eta hopi difícil pa eigenlijk no llora. Sobre misa con malo eta, con en qué estado eta.
I go diving when I'm on a holiday and you just see how destroyed an ecosystem is, that it just hurts you to see that we still keep on destroying the thing that a lot of us love.
What I hope for this project is that we can, restore these reefs again so they look as beautiful as we enjoyed them last year. That's what I hope for this project. And so that should be positive. That should be the positive outcome to me.
I think the future for reef systems, and that also inclines the future of the health of our oceans, is that we should make nature-inclusive building the standard within marine infrastructure.
A shift, so towards also like really starting to take into consideration nature in our future projects of development.
Not only to mitigate, but to over-mitigate the bad things that you do. So actually with a construction project have a positive impact instead of a negative one.
In order, if we want to see a sustainable change in society, we need to educate the youth and the societies. And I think it also like promotes active restoration, so actually not only wait for the next generation to bring a positive change, but already kickstart like the positive change in nature. But at the same time, I think this connection can be created. So like this connection between human and nature, we often pull ourselves apart, but we are one.
Bota soda, bota sinti e holo ng di marha naturaleza, bota escuche parha ng any bota kun me made vida, ante ta kun do nabo vida e gozo e sentimento ng di gratitude ko esa kita boniteza como a matéria to nós.
September 14th marked the next steps for mangrove restoration and was also one of the last actions captured for the documentary as the project was coming to a close. But the real work was only just beginning. Covered head to toe in mud, these dedicated volunteers demonstrated their passion and commitment. We witnessed the start of a long process to dig channels in the mangroves to improve water flow. There was still a long road ahead.
Awe din trabaho. Awe nasa kinang na span sa Lagoon. Kapurba di restaura na palta a water flow of the two roys. Roy Taki connected to Roy Bringamosa.
High fives all around. No? Dirty. Por algo si bati un clean lifestyle. Ito algo ko, yeah, it brings out something primal out of you. Mas me obisa. Pero ito do shit talk, so you know, it's for a cause. So the nature takes care of us in the end. Talk. Give me that nice.
Restoration of nature, you don't have to wait for high-educated people. You don't have to wait for millions of budget. This project with all the volunteers shows that we can restore nature with people who are not educated in this field.
Nós estamos surpreendidos com ora nós temos mister de voluntário na gente para ajuda, com nós temos hope gente com interesse, hope gente na de idade, gente young, gente na que vai escola ainda, gente na que trabalha, que está sacrificando um tempo de weekend para vir ajudar nós.
We zijn aan het baggeren. Om zo meer flow te krijgen, waterflow, zodat er uiteindelijk meer mangrove kan groeien. Dus nu is het vooral heel veel scheppen en dragen en tillen. Zo. En dan wacht ik even op een touw en dan tillen we dat terug.
Exit area, die channel. Dat onder eigenlijk voluntario não está hibando tur lodo que está saca dia channel que agora que vai não está hibele para nos hibele riba área seco dia salinha para assim é por seca para depois nos for halele porque eu lo vai cultura material na dus na Spans Lagoon lo qual sucede eigenlijk para décadas para hasta centuries ta lodo ta binku e avacero ding e lagoon anto eigenlijk eta yenele ku lodo siltation anto door die sei eta comincia seca anto e mangrove no cresce mais passo e mangrove misterio área de água área moja un wetland nos ta abri e canal landak pa asina e flujo de água conecta com la mar posigi
Sa kita may dokumentasyon sinos by back ng historia ta una e kanal original lo totota. Ta e best practices pa e sistema ng aki no está haciendo nos best lógicamente Kiko lo aplica na Aruba pero es aquí nunca guarda así na Aruba.
Sushi, muddy sushi, pero happy, contento. Quieren nostura dentro de cookie mene ku di mesco passion para ayudar. Bueno, sabe preciso que vai haya. Pero mene não se compartir it's a dirty work, pero bota haya satisfaction ding jesi.
So we bring them outside to recreate this emotional connection between them and the natural habitats.
It's so nice to see that if you give people an opportunity, they want to help. They want to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
With Turning the Tide coming to an end, we turn our gaze to the future. While only time will tell the impact of the hard work, the hope and enthusiasm of all involved are inspiring. Every individual has the power to contribute to the restoration of our natural world.
Conservation work is never easy. You are working in an environment that's very tough and full of threats, and you're trying to restore and protect and preserve that which you love, which is nature. But I think there's always glimmers of hope, and I think this project is definitely one of them.
A nós como gente, nós não portar persona, ser humano sem nossa natureza. Eta dona nos identidade, eta dona nos posição no mundo, eta dona nos algo que está fazendo nos único como arubiano, como gente que está viva na Aruba. E para mim essa é a parte mais importante para ter uma natureza sana.
Nós temos que abrir o ovo e vir junto para cuidar do tesouro que nós temos.
Timbia meste bira pio, prome que bira miho. Nos por llega na e momento onde nós vai ibedilante de uma maneira positiva.
Doing nothing is no option. We need to continue what we're doing.
Success is seeing another project happen and seeing even more people involved and seeing more people want to protect this amazing ocean that we have here and our reefs and all the fish in it. And just, yeah, I think we've already been successful.
It was a joy, I must be honest, apart from the struggles, it's a joy because you also see the enthusiasm of the students, the enthusiasm of the staff members.
Trago a comunidade, papi com gente, treze gente junto e assim para nós todos juntos por seguir para adiante.
I think it's important to follow your heart and follow your dreams. Anything is possible if you put your mind to it. Passion and love for your natural environment. We need bright ideas for a brighter future.
So kinang ito mi tarea, kinang ito mi responsabilidad. Kinang mi kierta parte di e solution.
So this pilot project is really only the beginning. It has not been easy, but it is a testament of what happens when everyone comes together and works together for nature. We have our work cut out for us for decades ahead, and we really need to go full throttle ahead together for nature.
Let's turn the tide!
As we conclude this journey with Turning the Tide, we invite all nature lovers and proud Arubans to unite in making a difference. Every small action counts, and together we can help protect and restore the beauty of our island's ecosystems and biodiversity. Whether through volunteering, supporting local conservation efforts, or spreading awareness, everyone has a role to play. Let's work together to turn the tide and safeguard Aruba's natural heritage for generations to come. Change starts today, and together, we're turning the tide.